Okay, so picture this. You're using a power drill,
Uh,
right? And you're just like effortlessly gliding through wood. Well, maybe not effortlessly,
right.
but you get the idea. Ever stop to think, though, like about the actual mind behind that drill? I'm
Yeah.
talking about the industrial tool design
The
engineers.
unsung heroes, yeah.
It's like they're the unsung heroes of, well, basically everything we use when you think about it.
It's true.
And you listeners have sent in some seriously fascinating stuff from RoleCatcher.
Oh, yeah, they're great.
It's a platform for, career navigation and all that. And we've got their whole guide to like becoming an industrial tool design engineer, plus all the tips on interviews, job hunting, even get this, beating those robot recruiters. You know the
Yeah,
ones.
yeah, those things.
So we're going deep today on what this job really entails. And let me tell you, it's way cooler and more impactful than it might seem at first glance.
Absolutely. And, you know, people, they often picture like just wrenches and hammers, right? But we're talking robotics, massive automation systems, even highly specialized equipment, like, think deep sea exploration.
Yeah. That's actually something that really surprised me when I was reading this was the sheer range of industries that this actually impacts. This isn't just factory work. It's aerospace, medicine, renewable energy, you name it.
It's really kind of everywhere when you start to look for it.
It is.
And they're solving problems that most of us don't even know exist, right? Think about like efficiency in manufacturing.
Right.
These engineers, they make things faster, safer, less wasteful. It's a vital part of progress.
Which is incredible. That makes total sense. But like, what does an industrial tool design engineer actually do day to day? I'll be honest, I'm kind of picturing lots of equations and staring at computer screens all day.
Yeah, I mean, while the technical expertise is key for
Yeah.
sure, it's a much more collaborative and creative field than you might think, actually.
Yeah.
It's really about understanding, like, a client's needs, right, and then finding elegant solutions.
And that's actually something that RoleCatcher really stressed was that whole client focus.
Oh, yeah.
It's about taking an idea from concept, like the very beginning, to a functional manufacturable product. They even use the word artistry in this guide, which I found really intriguing.
Oh, absolutely. And the technology they use is amazing. They're using cutting-edge technology like 3D modeling, simulation software, like to bring those ideas to life. And that definitely requires that blend of technical skills, but then also creative skills too.
Totally. Speaking of which, RoleCatcher highlighted that creativity as a major pro of the job.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's not just about like crunching numbers.
Right.
It's about innovative problem solving and thinking outside the box. But they also did mention, the demands, long hours, the constant need to learn new
But
technologies.
that's going to be true in any field that's kind of on the forefront, right? That's just kind of the nature of innovation. But, those challenges are often what draws people to this career path in the first place, the excitement of pushing boundaries and then, actually seeing your creations have a real world impact.
Yeah, like you're creating something and then it's actually used to like build something real.
Exactly.
So it's not for the faint of heart, but it sounds incredibly rewarding.
It really does.
RoleCatcher also did a really interesting breakdown of like the career path,
Yeah.
and I was fascinated to see it's not always a straight climb up the ladder.
It's very much not that.
It's not.
It's more like a choose your own adventure almost.
Mm.
You might start as a junior engineer, maybe you're assisting on projects, then take on more responsibility as you gain experience.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, you could become a specialist in a particular area. You could move into management. You could even start your own design firm.
So it's like a lot of different options, which is really neat. And to actually illustrate this, they included these profiles of like real industrial tool design engineers at all different stages, which I thought was super interesting. It was really cool to see how one junior engineer used their Lean Six Sigma certification, something they picked up early in their career, to streamline a manufacturing process for a client, saving them a ton of time and money.
That's a great example of how a seemingly niche skill, right, can become a really, really valuable asset in this field. And it highlights that importance of continuous learning, professional development, something that RoleCatcher emphasizes throughout their resources.
It's true. And it's not just about the hard skills either, which I thought was really interesting too. I was really struck by the importance of communication.
Oh, for sure.
Like both written and verbal. RoleCatcher had a whole section in their skills breakdown about it.
Yeah, and that makes perfect sense when you think about it, right? I mean, you're constantly collaborating with clients, manufacturers, other engineers.
So many people.
It's so important to be able to clearly articulate your vision and then also to actively listen to feedback, right?
Yeah, it's a two-way street for sure. So we've got active listening, problem solving, critical thinking. Those are all crucial. These engineers need to be great communicators too. Who knew?
Yeah, it's about connecting the dots, right? Seeing the bigger picture.
The bigger picture.
A successful industrial tool design engineer needs that blend of, the technical expertise, the creativity, and then those communication skills.
Totally. And I think that's where a platform like RoleCatcher can be really, really helpful for someone who's maybe looking to get into this field. Because it's not just about finding a job, it's about understanding the skills that you need to actually excel in that role.
Exactly. And they go beyond just listing those skills, right?
Yeah.
They actually give you tools to develop them, which I think is awesome and what makes their approach really, really effective.
It's like they're saying, okay, here's what it takes, and here's how you can actually get there, which I love. And one of their tools that I found really intriguing was what was it called? RoleCatcher.capture plugin, something like that.
Oh, yeah, the RoleCatcher.capture plugin. That's a fantastic one,
Yeah.
especially when you're feeling like overwhelmed by job boards,
Yeah.
like you're just scrolling and scrolling.
It's so easy to get lost in those.
It is. And you see something interesting and boom, you hit it with the plugin and it's saved to your RoleCatcher accounts.
It's so simple.
No more like frantic bookmarks or like, trying to remember to go back to that one.
Or like emailing yourself the link. Or
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's great. It's like you've got this curated little list of like potential opportunities all ready to go.
I love it.
Speaking of which, RoleCatcher also talked about how their platform can like analyze your skills based on your resume
Yes.
and then match them to relevant job descriptions, which I thought was pretty
Are.
cool. That is so key because, so many companies are using those automated systems that basically like scan for keywords.
Oh, yeah. Those things are brutal.
It's tough. So RoleCatcher, they help you kind of like speak their language.
Yeah,
Ethically, of course, we're not talking about anything shady,
of course, yeah.
but it helps your skills actually shine through to the right people.
Yeah. It's like having a secret weapon almost to get your foot in the door.
Right, exactly.
And then, of course, they do offer more advanced AI features if you want to pay for it, like for an extra boost. But honestly, I think even just using their free resources, like the career guides and the interview prep materials, can really give you a serious edge.
Oh, for sure. And I think what I really like about them is it's all about like empowering you, right? It's about taking control of your own career journey. But instead of just saying, here's the path, go do it, it's more like they're giving you the tools to like craft your own success story, which I think is really cool.
Yeah. Feels very empowering, which I like a lot.
It does.
And, that kind of brings us back to the industrial tool design engineers themselves. We've talked about, the skills they need and the career path. But I'm curious, what are some of the real world challenges that they face? Because I imagine it's not always smooth sailing, right? From idea to this finished product, something always comes up.
Oh, absolutely not. It's never that simple. I think one of the biggest challenges right now, and one that RoleCatcher touched on, which I thought was really interesting, is this idea of designing for sustainability.
Oh, yeah. That's becoming such a big thing.
Huge. It's not just about creating a tool that works. It's about considering its entire life cycle. The materials you're using, the manufacturing process, even how it will be disposed of eventually.
Which honestly is not something that I would have thought about before, but it makes total sense.
Right.
Especially with climate change and resource depletion. It's that's a huge factor now.
It is. It's a really important point. And it requires a whole new way of thinking for these engineers too. They need to be aware of the environmental impact of different materials. Maybe explore alternative manufacturing processes like additive manufacturing, which is 3D printing.
Yeah.
Design for disassembly, recyclability, all of that. It adds a whole new layer of complexity.
Totally. So they need to be as much environmental stewards as they are engineers now, which is interesting.
It's a really interesting shift that we're seeing. Yeah.
Yeah. And speaking of complexity, I imagine designing for different industries probably presents a whole other set of unique challenges too.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Each one has its own quirks.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
If you take aerospace, for example.
Yeah.
Tools used in aircraft manufacturing or repair, those have to meet incredibly stringent safety and performance standards. They often need to be super lightweight, yet incredibly strong,
Yeah.
able to withstand extreme temperatures and pressures.
The extreme.
It's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah. It really makes you appreciate the thought that goes into even the the simplest tools, I think, when you really break it down. But on the topic of complexity, RoleCatcher did mention a few specific technologies that are used in tool design. I have to admit, some of it kind of went over my head a little bit. Like I was reading it and I was like, okay, I need to brush up on some things.
Yeah, it can get very technical for sure.
Yeah. What was it they were talking about? Finite element analysis? What is that? I don't know what that is.
So finite element analysis, or FEA, it's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful.
It's basically a computerized method for predicting how a product will react to like real-world forces, vibration, heat, fluid flow, all those different physical effects.
Oh, okay. So it's like a simulation almost.
Exactly.
Okay, got it.
So instead of actually having to like build a prototype and then physically test it, which can be really expensive
And time consuming.
and time consuming.
Right.
Right. They can actually just simulate all those tests virtually using computer software.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's really, really cool.
Wow, that's fascinating. It really highlights the level of like expertise these engineers have to bring to the table. It's not just about knowing how to use like CAD software. It's about understanding complex physics and material science and all of that.
Exactly. And that's why a lot of industrial tool design engineers end up having, advanced degrees or like very specialized certifications in certain areas.
Because they need to.
They do. It's a constantly evolving field, so continuous learning is a must.
Which brings us back to a point that RoleCatcher really emphasized throughout all of their resources, which is that importance of networking and professional development.
Oh, so important.
Like, they really hammered home the idea that this career path is a marathon, not a sprint.
100%. Attending industry conferences, joining those professional organizations, even just like connecting with other engineers online on LinkedIn or whatever.
Right.
These are all really valuable ways to just kind of like stay ahead of the curve, see what's new, and just learn from, honestly, the best in the field.
Yeah, get those insights. It's like they're building a community around this career path, which I think is really cool.
I love that.
So for anyone listening who's maybe considering this as like a career, what would you say is like the most important takeaway from all of this?
Ooh, that's a good question. I would say, industrial tool design engineering, it's more than just a job, right? It's really like a way of thinking.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah, it's about seeing the world as this series of problems to be solved.
I like that. Okay.
And then having the creativity, the technical skills, and honestly, just the determination to find those solutions.
And to find those solutions in a way that, benefits not just the client, but ideally also the environment and society as a whole, right?
Exactly. It's about like designing a better future,
Right.
One tool at a time.
I love that. And it really makes me think about like all the everyday objects that we just completely take for granted.
Oh.
Like our smartphones, the cars we drive, the medical devices that are literally keeping us healthy. Like behind each of those is a team of these industrial tool design engineers who helped make that a reality.
It's kind of a humbling thought when you really let it sink in.
It really is. It really is. So I guess, the next time you pick up a well-designed tool, whatever it is,
Just think about it.
take a moment and just appreciate the ingenuity and the hard work that went into actually creating that thing. You might even find yourself inspired to learn a little bit more about this field, which, trust me, it's a lot cooler than it sounds.
Way cooler.
Yeah.
And hey, who knows? Maybe you'll even consider joining the ranks of these unsung heroes of innovation.
That's right.
There's a whole world of design and engineering out there just waiting to be explored.
I love it. That's such a fantastic note to end on. Thank you so much for diving into all of this with me. It's been a really, really eye-opening exploration. I feel like I've learned a ton.
The pleasure was all mine. Until next time, keep those thinking caps on and never stop exploring all those hidden wonders in the world around us.